Hi folks, this is video number 34 for the playlist that's devoted to 3D Experience CATIA Generative Shape Design Application. Now, I want to remind you that there are two playlists for this particular purpose. One is called the Wireframe playlist, and the other one is the Surface Tab playlist. And this one goes to the Surface Tab one. The icon under consideration is sweep, and the profile type is circle. Uh, we're going to look at the remaining four subtypes. In the previous video, number 33, we did the first three subtypes, namely three guides, two guides and radius, center and two angles. And now we're going to do the remaining one, which is down here. Center and radius, two guides and tangency surface, one guide and tangency surface, and limit curve and tangency surface. So when you select the Surface tab, you have access to Sweep, and upon clicking on Sweep, this dialog box opens up. And what I'm going to be doing is case number 4, which is a circular profile. Okay. And the ones that we're going to look at, this is actually should be, this should be one of these remaining 4 cases. So we're going to be looking at these 4 cases, and the 4 cases, when you have a center and radius, basically you have a curve in space, and then you want to make a cylindrical surface around that path and with a specified radius. The other one is two guides. There's two guides and a tangency surface. We'll talk about these 3 later on. Okay. Let me worry about the first one, which is the most straightforward one, and then we come back and do these things. Okay. Yeah, so this is the CATIA V5 version of this tutorial, can be found in this link. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. What I'm going to do is 3 points in space, or 4 points in space, and basically I want to draw a space curve. So here's what I'm going to do. 4 points, let me make 3 of them in one plane and the 4th one off the plane. So that's the easiest way to do it. So point on a plane. On a plane, for example, on this one, here is 1, to another one, same plane, maybe another one here, and another one. Say, yeah, something there. And the 4th one, to make sure everything's off the plane, in the horizontal plane over there. Okay, so now we're going to go to spline and put a spline between these 4 points. Let's get out of the way. 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, and 4 point. And okay. So basically, this is a curve in space. And what I'm going to do is go to Surface tab, Sweep, and it's circular or circle, center and radius. It needs a center curve. So I'm going to select this curve, 3-dimensional curve that I have. And notice that it automatically chooses that as the spine. Or you can use other things, but now there is a radius here, 20 millimeter. Let's say it looks like. So we say preview. There we are. Now, if you want to change that to, I don't know, maybe a 10, preview, there we are. You can also come up with a line on that. So not a line, a law. For example, a linear law, which goes from, let's say, 5 millimeter at the beginning to 20 millimeters at the end. Okay. And preview. Looks like that. It's fairly straightforward. All these other options all apply to as before. You can limit this between 2 points or 2 planes, so that shows only a portion of that, and stuff of this type. I'm not going to do these things because we have done many times with these other options that we discussed. So okay. that takes care of this, and essentially I've done that case, and now we're going to do subtype two guides and tangency surface. Okay, this is the next subtype that I want to do. Basically, you have two curves. Let's say we have a surface. And on the surface, we have one curve, and off the surface, we have another curve. So what you want to do is to make sure that there is a surface generated that goes from the one off the surface to the one on the surface, but it becomes tangent to the original one. Okay? So here is the way it works. There's a surface here. There is a curve on it. Let's call it guide 1. Okay? And then there is a curve off the surface that we're talking about, of that, guide 2, and then we want to generate the surface that goes from guide 2 to guide 1 and is tangent to that surface S. Let's do an example. So on this, I'll draw a simple extruded surface. So on this plane, I'm going to sketch a spline because I want to extrude it to get a surface. Okay, exit. I'm going to extrude that. Okay, move this thing. All right. Okay, good. Let me make it a little bit longer. Okay. Now I want to draw a curve on this surface, and the easiest way for me to do something off it and then project it. So for example, on this horizontal plane, I will sketch a spline. Exit. Notice that this thing is off that surface, and then I'm going to project that. Project this on that, and there we are. Let me hide that. I don't need it anymore. So here's the situation. I have a surface and I have a curve on that surface. Now I'm going to draw another curve off that surface. So for example, all the way on that plane again, I'll draw another spline maybe, or a line, whichever you want. So I'll draw a spline. Okay, exit. So now I have a curve off that surface. This one is on that surface. This one is off that surface. So let me hide these planes here. I don't need them. All right. Now we go to sweep, surface, sweep, and it's circle. And the subtype that we want is two guides and tangency surface. I read this thing carefully. It says limit curve with tangency. That is the first curve that is on that surface. Okay. Tangency surface, it's that surface. And the limit curve is the one that's off there. So I want to draw a curve that passes, a surface that passes through this. And it passes through the curve that's on the surface, and the surface is tangent to the surface. So preview, there we are. Okay. So let's see if this all makes sense. Well, first of all, there are several solutions. There's two solutions in this case. And let's say, okay, this is the first one. So here's the situation. Let's see if it meets our requirement. Okay. It went through the curve that's off the surface right there. You can see that. See that? Off the surface. And it goes through the curve that's on the surface. And the resulting surface is tangent to the original extruded surface. Now here there's two solutions. Let's look at the other one, next one, and then say okay, and there we are. So this curve starts off the surface from that guide curve. It goes to that curve on the surface right there, and it's tangent to the original extruded surface. So that takes care of case number 2, and now we're going to go to case number 3. Okay, this is subtype number see 6 that we're going to be looking at. When I say 6, because in video 33 there were 3, and here I did 4, 5, and now it's 6. Okay, it's called one guide and tangency surface, and the way it works is like this. It's explained here on the side. So we have a surface. Right there, and we have a guide over there, that curve over there, that's off that surface. And we want to draw a surface that starts at the guide, includes the guide, and then it becomes tangent to the given surface. And it's made of circles of specified radius. Remember, we are dealing with a profile type, which is a circle. So the surfaces that we're generating are all made by a whole whack of surfaces, that are attaching generated circles together. Okay, so now in this video, I'm not showing you uh, figures that I have generated myself like this. Let me show you for a second. In video 33, I showed what's going on by showing generated surfaces which are like that. But in the video 34, I decided not to do that. I'm referring to these little icons that you see in the interface itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I go here, and I'm going to generate a kind of a complicated surface. So on that vertical plane, I will draw, first of all, a spline, like this. Okay, all right, exit. And because I want my surface to be kind of complicated, let me generate a, I can actually extrude that, but I'd rather make it a bit more difficult. So I'm going to draw a curve like that, another spline basically. So perhaps something, here's my graph, something like this. Exit. So we have learned how to do, sweeping up something like this along that guide curve. This is the stuff that you did in the explicit sweep. So we go to surface, sweep, first one, which is this profile along that, which is going to be our guide. There we are. Okay. So we know how to generate complicated surfaces based on what we have seen in a generative shape design. Okay, good. Now, remember, our purpose is to do this. I generate a complicated surface. Good. I need a curve over here. Let me generate a curve here. For example, another spline. If it doesn't work, we're going to go and clean it up. As simple as that. Because not everything that we try to do is going to work. Exit. So what I have here is a surface, a guide curve, and now we're going to go to sweep, circle, one guide curve and tangency surface, one guide and tangency surface. Guide curve is this, the surface is that, and the radius, I'll leave it as 20. You can't put random numbers here. It has to be big enough that actually can generate. So let's try it with this. Preview, it says I can't do it. Okay, no problem. So let me make this thing as 40. Preview. There we are. So look at what happened. I had a surface. I had a guide curve out here. And I made a surface that goes through the guide curve, is tangent to that surface, and is made of circles of radius, whatever I specify. 40. If you put small number, it may not work. Let's put 100 and see what happens. Sometimes you get multiple solutions, so let's see. This one is no good, so let's make it 80. There we are. We get two solutions. See that. Let me double click on this. Here we get two solutions. This was the first one. The next one is going to be that one. You may get multiple solutions. You may get none. And you may get one, depending on what numbers you put in. Okay, that takes care of this. Okay, this is the subtype number 7, or the final subtype for the circle sweep, and it's going to be called limit curve and tangency surface. And the idea behind it is you have a surface, and on it you have a curve, and what you want to do is create a surface that is tangent to the given surface, and it comes to that guide curve that's sitting on the surface. So we have a guide curve on a surface, and then we want to generate a surface that's become tangent to the given surface at the guide curve, at that limit curve. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'll draw a kind of a more complicated surface than one that is just extruded, just like the one that I did a few minutes ago in the subtype of 6. So let's go here. Let me draw some kind of a spline. All right. Exit. And then I'm going to make a guide curve for that because I want to make it rather, more complicated, not complicated. Okay. Exit. All right. This may be too dramatic. We'll see. If it doesn't work, we're going to go clean this up. And now we're going to go sweep, explicit, the first one. So I'm going to select my profile along that and preview, and there we go. There we go. Okay, fine. Let me hide this. I don't need it. Now I'm going to draw a curve on this surface. On this surface, I'm going to draw a curve. How am I going to do that? The easiest way for me is to draw a curve up there and then project it. So on that horizontal plane, I'm going to draw maybe a spline like that. Okay, exit. And I'm going to project this onto that surface. So wireframe, where's the project? Project that on the surface. There are different ways of doing it. I'll do along a direction, Z direction, so downward. And then we say, okay, there we go. And I don't need this thing. Just get rid of it. Hide it. So basically, let me get rid of that back one too. So I have a surface and I have a curve on it. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and the surface tab, sweep, and circle the last subtype, which is limit curve and tangency surface. So limit curve is this curve that I projected. It's right there. And the surface obviously is here. It also asks you for the radius. I'll leave it as 20, see how it's going to go. And then if it doesn't work, we make it bigger or smaller, etc. And then we say, okay. Okay. So let me go back. Let me go back to this. Show you what happened here. Let me go back to that. Notice that there is default angle 0 to 45. I can change these things, but let me make this thing 360 to show you what happens. 360. Preview. Okay. Now, this gave me multiple solutions, so this is one of them. So let's go to the next one. This is what happened. So look, I had a surface here. I have a curve on it. I generated another surface which passes through that curve and is tangent to this or given original surface. And there's some freedom that I have here. For example, let me change the radius. What this radius means is that this surface that I generated is made of little circles which are moving around, just like what I showed in video 33. I did not do that in the current video, but in video 33, I showed you how the surface is generated, okay? Let me change this thing from 20 to 10. Okay, that's better. You also have some freedom as to angle. You don't have to go between 0 and 360. For example, you can go from, let's go from minus 90 to 90. How about that? Let's see how it looks like. You have a freedom on making these things, yeah, right there. So that surface that's generated is made of circles of radius 10 in this case. It passes through that guide curve, which is on the surface, and is tangent to the generated surface, to the given original surface. Yeah, so that takes care of all the seven, subtypes that we have. For a circle, these first three were done in video 33. These four were done in the current video 34. And in video 35, I'll do some wacky surfaces based on some of the stuff that we have done in based on circles. Okay? Good luck.